few years ago, I did a video on my top 10 Nintendo 64 games, my favorite console growing up. And then I kicked off 2017 by taking a look at my top 10 PS2 games, which sort of defined my adolescence. So I thought it only made sense to continue that trend this year by talking about my favorite Super Nintendo games. But unfortunately, my SNES experience was pretty limited. I never played the Super Metroids, Link to the Pasts, or Chrono Triggers as a kid, and other than Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario World, I pretty much only played weird cartoon knockoffs or movie tie-in games. So I thought instead of trying to discuss all the best games that everyone else played growing up and have been covered to death at this point, today I'll look at some of those obscure Super Nintendo titles that no one else seemed to play other than myself. These are by no means better than the most popular games on the system, but I was surprised at how some of them still held up today when replaying them. So without further ado, hopefully this will shed some light on a few underappreciated games that you may have never heard of. Let's start with number 5. Boogerman, a pick and flick adventure. Yes, this game is pretty much exactly what you're thinking it is. You play as one of the many failed mascot heroes of the 90s, Boogerman, whose job is to defeat evil the only way he knows how, with his boogers, burps, and farts. Seriously, that's your main abilities, along with a dedicated button specifically to utter his catchphrase. Booger! I remember renting this game as a child and my mom and I just laughing hysterically at how stupid the premise is. You go around a grimy forest collecting plungers, popping zits on the ground, and erecting outhouses as your checkpoints. There isn't a single element of this game that doesn't appear to be concocted by a 12-year-old boy's imagination, but it's somehow so ridiculous that it's charming at the same time. It doesn't have a whole lot of depth, and I can't say the design is phenomenal, but it's a great reminder that this was an actual game that was sold in stores at one point in history. I think the only thing we can hope for now is a full HD reboot, so get on it, Interplay. The world is waiting for your masterpiece. Number 4 on our list is The Pagemaster, which as some of you know is based on the 1994 film of the same name starring Macaulay Culkin. In the movie, he gets lost in a library and has to find his way out with the help of some book friends he meets along the way. In the game, you journey through different worlds based on the genres of the 3 books: horror, adventure, and fantasy. It takes a bunch of elements and combines them together, such as Jekyll and Hyde, swashbuckling swords, and even Humpty Dumpty and the 3 Little Pigs. But what's interesting is how the power-ups affect the gameplay. At first, you don't have any way to defend yourself against enemies except for jumping on their heads, but eventually you gain projectiles, higher jumps, and even the ability to jump off walls, or climb across them with goopy hands. If you get hit, the power-ups run away from you with a chance to grab them again, and they also act as your health. Once you run out of power-ups, you can die in one hit. It's a pretty brutal game. I don't remember getting too far as a kid, but it definitely had some interesting ideas and memorable set pieces that were pretty faithful to the source material. In fact, any SNES game with Macaulay Culkin in it is pretty great. A lot of people played Disney's Magical Quest growing up, which was a great Mickey Mouse adventure with cool power-ups and exciting level design, but I didn't have that one as a kid. My Disney Mouse experience was with the game Mickey Mania, developed by Traveler's Tales. And the cool thing about this one is that the different levels are a tour through the various Mickey cartoons from back in the day. So it begins with Steamboat Willie as the game turns from black and white to full Technicolor, and then to the Mad Doctor from 1933, and so on. But what I didn't expect as a kid was how difficult this game is. Oh, you thought Dark Souls was hard with all the tricks and traps? Look at this! Good luck surviving this chainsaw gauntlet of death. Oh, Cuphead is the hardest game you've played? Child's play. Mickey Mania does not mess around, and every level will definitely test your endurance and resolve. It has Mickey's face on it, but I'm pretty sure this is just a reskin of an unreleased Ghouls and Ghosts sequel or something. Next up, we have Bugs Bunny Rabbit Rampage. And for some reason, I really loved this game growing up, despite never getting past the 4th level. Like most of the titles on this list, it is exceptionally challenging, but hey, it had bugs, so it has to be good, right? Actually, Rabbit Rampage does do some pretty neat things with its gameplay. Bugs has an inventory of various items he can collect, like a custard pie to throw, or a target to drop a safe on, or even checkpoints that you have to place on your own. Yeah, that's right, Ori didn't do it first. Bugs Bunny beat you to the punch, guys. He can drop kick, kick or butt stomp most enemies in his path, but you also have to use your cunning to overcome many obstacles. For example, in the third stage, you need to lure the Raging Bull by having him hit these signs so that he can unlock the secret switch. But then you have to continue to lure him to the right side to hit the metal wall and defeat him. But on the way back, the signs are no longer there, so you have to use the anvils to knock him out or duck down into pits to regain the upper hand. It's pretty clever, and the whole game had lots of cool concepts like this, even though it probably was a bit too sadistic. A quick honorable mention before we get to number 1, Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday. This one is really interesting because while it may have the adorable Looney Tunes exterior, it might be the most terrifying SNES game I've ever played. Porky is already skittish enough, but seeing Daffy Duck do something like this would scare even the bravest of cartoon characters. The whole thing is essentially a fever dream full of spooky leprechauns and moose heads with guns in their mouths. I can't say it's the best game from a design perspective, but it's still surprisingly fun, if you can get past the creepy obstacles Sunsoft tries to put in your way. Alright, the best obscure Super Nintendo game I played as a child by far was Animaniacs. Much like the TV show, this Konami classic has you running around the Warner Brothers lot trying to stop Pinky and the Brain from taking over the world. And the way you do that is by entering the different studios of upcoming movies. These are filled to the brim with nods and homages to real films, like Falcor from Neverending Story, this Scarecrow version of C-3PO, or even Dracula himself inside the Indiana Jones level. I'd say it makes more sense if you play it, but it doesn't really. The whole game is packed with little Spielberg quirks and inside jokes, which is exactly what Animaniacs is all about. But from a gameplay perspective, it does things I haven't seen any other SNES game pull off. It has a pseudo 3D camera, so you can move north and south as well as up, down, left, and right, and you can stack the Animaniacs on top of each other to reach higher ledges. But throughout your adventure, the security guard will try and nab you, which not only means less stacking height, but each Animaniac represents your health, so if you all get caught, it's game over. What's cool is that if you lose one of your siblings, you can go to the water tower in the middle of the lot and go through a minigame to retrieve them and have a full party once again. You can also dash, which is used in a variety of ways to not only stay ahead in crumbling stages, but also to interact with the environment or flip switches. But probably the neatest part for myself was all the little hidden secrets, namely the main collectible, the scripts. Pinky and the Brain are trying to steal them to make the perfect movie. So along your journey, you can find the lost scripts by searching hard to reach areas or completing challenging tasks throughout. The crazy thing is, I've never found them all. I mean, look at this, there's even 3 hidden within the final boss fight. I have no idea what it unlocks, probably a secret ending or something, but it's always taunted me ever since I was a kid. It added a new layer of depth that really impressed me and kept me searching the stages long after I completed them. Animaniacs is a blast. From the coin slot minigame that plays underneath you to gain extra lives or continues, to cameos from other characters, to just the right amount of challenge that kept me engaged the whole way. It's unique, well-designed, and most important, wacky and delightful from start to finish. I have no idea if some of you have played these games, and maybe I'll be surprised and realize I'm not alone in remembering them, but I hope this at least brought your attention to some that you might not have known about. Do you have some weird, obscure games that you played growing up that you really enjoyed? Tell me what they were and why you like them so much in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. Not every game can be a sweeping success, but that doesn't mean that every other one should be swept under the rug either. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys next time, and stay frosty, my friends.